starting like in 1 minute. Give me like 1 minute. What's up? Hey Vlad, hey Rocky, look at DJ Vlad's hair. You and DJ Vlad got the same hair. Like DJ Vlad shaved French Bulldog ass hair and put it on top of his head. Yeah, Vlad got hair like you, Rocky. Look at his hair. His beard is made of hair like yours. What's up, everybody? I was just showing y'all the difference between DJ Vlad's hair and Rocky's hair. It's not much. Vlad got shaved dog hair, shaved dog ass hair on his scalp. And that is what comprises of what's on his head. But this show isn't about what's on Vlad's head. It's about what's in his mind and what he said. Vlad apologized to Louis Farrakhan. So the question today is, did he mean it? So what we're going to do today is we're going to skip through different parts of the interview and break down what DJ Vlad said. I want to say, salute to Willie D. I think that he conducted a great interview. He asked great questions. And he asked the kind of questions I would always ask someone black to ask when a white man's on this show lying, Because people like Vlad, all you're going to do is it's going to be a whole bunch of lying going on, But so salute to Willie D. And, again, and salute to Vlad. Let me say it. Salute to Vlad for apologizing. He didn't have to. Most of the time, these white boys don't. You ready to leave, Rocky? I think Rocky got. I'll be right back. There we go. That dumb nigga. So we gonna talk about all that. We gonna break all that down. Thank you everybody for joining. If you haven't, check out my interview last week with Alonzo from the Worldwide Wrecking Crew, the person who discovered Dr. Dre, Easy and Yella and Cube. Check out my interview with him. And also I'm going to check out my interview yesterday with the great Rizza Islam. Great interview. Great interview. That was fun. Salute to Rizza. Salute to Intellectual Power. I just took a couple of these right before I started. And make sure that you do the same. Here's how I like it. I suggest you have yours the same way. Take that and type in the product code D Brown when you are on intellectualpower.net to get yours right now. All right. So let's talk about this. Let's break this whole Vlad interview down. I want to get my perspective on what was said. I want to get my perspective, and then I'm gonna take some of you guys' questions at the end if y'all want to do questions. What's up, Sinister? What's up, Amir? T. Monique, Rashawn. Appreciate all y'all for joining. Shayla, True Bleed, appreciate y'all. Can't get to everybody. Unique Organic Hair. Appreciate all of y'all for joining. I appreciate all y'all for joining. So I want to get into this. and let's talk about it. So for those you don't know, go to Willie D's interview channel. And on his interview, Willie D Conversations, which is a great channel, by the way, I encourage everybody to subscribe to that because long ago when I stopped dealing with watching Vlad TV, I picked up on, people like Art of Dialogue, Willie D, and the people who do conduct these great interviews. And I think that Willie D has gotten a lot better since his Cat Williams interview. I saw a lot of people, it was like criticisms of it, but and Willie D took a lot of heat after that Cat Williams interview. I remember a lot of people kind of coming at him, but I will say this: since that interview, however you felt about it or not, whether you thought the criticism was fair or not, and I thought that he was good then too. But since then, his interviews have improved leaps and bounds, and I was very impressed with this interview with Willie D being straight up and asking the hard questions. A lot of y'all out there don't understand how it is when you're doing an interview, when you're talking to people. It's sometimes tough to ask certain questions because, you may, because as an interviewer, however you feel about it is really about things generally irrelevant. You want to ask a question that the people want to know. And sometimes it can be tough to be sitting there one-on-one with somebody that you're cool with and asking them a tough question. And most people cower when it comes time to that. Willie D did not cower. So I want to start off by saying, respect to Willie D for not cowering and asking the tough questions to somebody he considers a friend. All right? So let's get over into it. Again, you can get this at Willie D Live Conversations. Willie D Live Conversations. Make sure that you subscribe to that channel. And again, I'm like, I know a lot of people are running hard lines on Vlad. Look, he apologized. He went to a black man's channel to do it. My personal feelings about it, I'm gonna sit that to the side until we get to the end of this. If you want to know how I personally feel about it, we're gonna have to sit here for the next hour and a half or so, or whenever I'm done running my goddamn mouth, and y'all know I can talk for a long time. So we're gonna talk about my personal feelings towards the end, but I do want to start off by saying I most definitely have respect for the apology for doing it on Willie D's platform and for doing it all, because let me tell you something, black folks, they generally don't apologize at all. Things are changing. The shift is happening. This is the same Vlad that earlier this month, he was going at Peter Rosenberg, another small hat. So this is crazy. Vlad went at another small hat here in the spring of 2025, and then he apologized to Farrakhan, a Muslim, on the day the Pope died, a Catholic. And on a King of Clubs day, today is the card of the King of Clubs, the Master. The Pope died on a King of Clubs day. And for those of you who don't know, the Pope, the first South American Pope, the Dirty Pope, was finally croaked today. With all due respect for people who are Catholics out there, I don't want to disrespect your religion, but anybody that heads that cabal of madness can't be the most honest person. And this the same Pope that in the late 70s oversaw a lot of children being murdered and molested and raped. And look up the wars in Argentina in the 70s and how this Pope he harbored some of these people that were in violation of violating children, and that thug ended up becoming the Pope. And he's done some great things, but I feel the way I feel about the Catholic Church, and can't nobody in the comment section make me feel any differently if you're against what I say. So, or afterwards. But yeah, the Catholic Church ain't shit. But at least they're gonna lay this dude to rest. Whatever. Next story. Just understand that this history that this lied about. Most of y'all, we gotta realize in our education system, our textbooks generally get vetted by the Catholic Church. So when you talk about black people being written out of history, these books that go into to miseducation and the populace, where they write black people out and act like we didn't exist, those history textbooks were more than likely vetted by the Vatican. And this is a common thing that's known out there. If you don't know more, look it up. So, I don't feel any way, but hey, whatever. Y'all in here, y'all ready? So that's the news today. Degenerate Pope dead. Drake is still acting like a bitch and his fan base. Kendrick Lamar did his thing on his first opening weekend, sold out stadium tours. So y'all got the news for the weekend. Now let's get in to this interview with Willie D and DJ Vlad.
Vlad TV has always reported on people accurately and will continue to do so. Mm-hmm. So where you stand today?
This was basically what happened was, this was Willie D reading off what he said initially in his defiant stance to not apologize to the great Farrakhan. He wrote. Let's go back. Now I want to go back. Let's play the whole statement. Y'all go back. I want y'all to get some of the stuff where y'all go to his channel yourself. So this is Willie D asking DJ Vlad, or somewhat of a DJ Vlad, where does he stand now since his defiant stance to not apologize in 2020 with the Honorable Louis Farrakhan?
I've changed my stance about this.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why did you do that?
Well, at the time, I had some people around me who I thought had my best intentions, who I realized later on didn't and had their own agendas. And sometimes when you get into situations like this, you choose the people around you as opposed to the public, because the people around you are the people that you have to deal with every day and are closer to you. The public you can deal with. We all deal with public backlash and so forth. So at the time, I decided to go that direction, even though it didn't really sit right on me. But over time, I got to see some of those people's true colors. And I started to really think of the moment that I was actually going to come forward and talk about it. And you being my actual friend and us talking about it for years and years, I felt that if I was going to do it, I was going to do it on this platform. Because I've done dozens of interviews since then, right? And I've always said before my interviews, no Farrakhan questions. And everyone's always respected that, just like I respect people when they come to my platform to say the same thing. But I feel like at this time, especially with what's happening between Israel, Jews and Muslims around the world, I don't feel that this stance of both parties just kind of buckling down and saying that we're not going to see the other person's side and so forth hasn't done anybody any good. So I feel as a prominent person in hip hop who is Jewish, one of the, probably one of the small handful of people in hip hop who are Jewish and are openly Jewish about it. I felt that it was my duty to try to fix things. Because ultimately, when you look at the relationship between the Nation of Islam and the Jewish community, it's never been good. And what does that accomplish for both parties? Nothing.
So that's Vlad coming out basically saying that he apologizes, he changes his stance, and he's going to actually do a flat out apology a little later on. But I'm doing this interview in order. But it was something he said back there I want to go back to.
The moment that I was actually going to come forward and talk about it. And sometimes when you get into situations like this, you choose the people around you as opposed to the public.
Right there. This is something that happens all the time, and you can see it. You generally are going to be most loyal to the people around you, but oftentimes people. This isn't about Vlad more so than it is about everybody listening. Sometimes the people around you ain't shit, and they will have you make a fucked up decision. I see this all the time with athletes, and generally a lot of times with people that get prominent. When you get prominent, you start getting new people around you. And you see this happens to white folks. It happens to black folks. It happens to everybody. You get people around you as you start to get more and more prominent, and they leave you fucked up. And Vlad thought the people around him could float him. But you know what else it shows? This shows the power of black people. When we said, no, we're not taking this shit, we see off the top with his apology, and you'll see this theme all throughout the apology, all throughout this interview, that decision by DJ Vlad to not apologize to the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, it got things around him hot. It got him at odds with his own people. It got him at odds with his fan base. This isn't something that went unnoticed. Off top, black people, this shows what happens when we get on cold and we take a stand. See, people thought taking a stand meant, okay, his channel's going to end. No, Vlad's channel's going to always be around. You got to realize, we as black folks, we as like the black people born and raised here in America that feel a certain way, that feel us that loud cultural pride, we are the minority. That's just what it is, no matter how you feel about it. I don't want nobody come in and chat, hey, black people, we're the majority in this country. I ain't talking about the number of numbers, dickhead. I'm talking about the amount of black people who have a high level of cultural pride and unity. Although there are a lot of black people out there, most don't have that kind of a pride and unity within our culture. Not because they're evil, but because they're socially engineered that way. If you're born and raised in the United States or outside the United States, you're basically born and bred to hate blackness. That includes, if you're black, hate yourself. So the majority of the people are the self-haters. Then you got the people who aren't from this country who just have a different point of view on blackness, and people like Farrakhan. You got people who immigrate here, no disrespect, but they immigrate here to get it. They immigrate out here to make their money, to get more of their family over here, and they're not about to get no fight with us. And they don't give a shit. You got the old Negro black folks they'll hear us talking about, hey, what's wrong, man? And you got the old Negroes that'll be like, I don't know about none of that stuff. I got to get my interviews in. And then you got the young gamer types, and truth be told, you got a fuck ton of white people and non-black people who listen to DJ Vlad. Let's just tell the truth. The majority of people that support not a real DJ Vlad ain't even black. These are people from the Midwest. These are people who want to get a peek into black culture through a safe vehicle like another white man. So Vlad's always going to have those audiences, all right? But with that being said, even though those of us who are on code are in the minority, you see what a small on code minority can do. As you go through this interview, you see that Vlad, it ain't been comfortable around him. He ain't been comfortable. It's been a lot of internal battles and issues going on since he made the decision to not apologize to Louis Farrakhan. So I want everybody to pay attention to this. We have these discussions and talk about these type things because everything has real world implications. You can sort of see a bellwether you can and look and see which way the winds are moving by paying attention and listening to people talk, even the people you don't like. Even the people you don't like. And mind you, Vlad is self-made. He's not pushed by, well, that's another story what we think he pushed by. I'm not going to get all into that right now. I'm trying to say friendly with the algorithm. We could talk about that probably on Patreon. Also, subscribe to my Patreon. We're gonna be doing some mornings of meditation music on Patreon. That's what I'm about to start releasing a few days a week. Music to meditate to keep your mind right. That's gonna be a Patreon exclusive. So make sure you sign up to Patreon and stay exclusive and stay on there. All right. But we see this with Vlad. So now I want to go into the next part. Now this is Vlad making excuses. Willie D asked a great question about how he talks about black people and how the Jews are being talked about by Farrakhan. Listen to this setup question. It's kind of long by Willie D, and then listen to DJ Vlad's response, and then we're going to respond to it after that.
What I want to know is, when Farrakhan does talk about Jews, oftentimes when he do talk about Jews, he speaks specifically. He don't put everybody in one bunch and say this is all you guys. He talk about specific guys who did this, or did that, or did that. Mm-hmm. What I want to know is, like, why is it that it seems to me like most of the Jewish community have an issue with Farrakhan speaking the truth? Because he don't lie. When he speaks things, when he talk about things, he speak on the truth. He just talk, this happened, this happened, this happened, this who did it, and he do the same thing with black people. I've been on stage with Farrakhan, and he called people out sitting on the stage, including me. Mm-hmm. Like he just tell the truth. He just speak on, what's righteous. Mm-hmm. So I don't have a problem with if I do something and somebody call it out or whatever. I really don't have a problem with that, because if I didn't want to have a problem with that, I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a certain knee-jerk reaction when someone.
So that's a great question by Willie D. He says, why is it that those people have an issue when Farrakhan speaks and calls them out? Now, listen, Vlad is about to give y'all about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes of complete bullshit. Let's listen to this bullshit and then get a reaction on the other side of this bullshit.
Who's not of your immediate group talks about your group, right?
Okay, I hear that.
A black person can talk about other black people, but when a white person talks about black people, it's a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, when you look at, like, the Breakfast Club, and it was the owner of the Eagles, I believe, was on the show and was saying, he doesn't like how black people attack other black people, like Meek Mill, and they call him gay and stuff like that. And there was a big backlash over that.
Yeah, I remember that guy.
Right?
Was he the owner of the...
So now he's conflating, just talking about another group of people with what Farrakhan does. This is a major conflation, but let's keep going.
It's about the black community.
Yeah.
And there was a huge backlash over it.
Right.
And he said that someone who I respect more than anyone else reached out to me and showed me the error of my ways and let me apologize. He was probably talking about Jay-Z.
Okay.
Which is what most people thought. But that's the thing. When people have a certain level of leeway of talking about their own group. I could talk about how I don't like how the Israeli government is handling the conflict with Hamas. I could say how it's too heavy-handed. I could say that I'm not a fan of Netanyahu and so forth. But I'm Jewish, and I could say that. A Muslim person or a black person saying that might get accused of being anti-Semitic. But it's the same statement from both people. But based on the person saying it, it's going to be taken a different type of way. So I think that's what happens. When you have someone like a Farrakhan talking about the black community, everyone's cool with it. When he starts talking about other communities, then people have more of an issue with it.
Okay, I get that because...
So you heard that conflation. You heard that bullshit. No, that's not what it is. That's not what it is, Vlad. When Farrakhan talks about your community, he's talking about it from the point of view of there are people from your community, and he names the names and he names who, that have done things to bring harm to Black America, whether that be through the vultures of the record labels or through the people who own the slave ships, or whether that be the people who own the pornography, or the people that you can draw close connections to the gentrification going on. Farrakhan identifies these people who hurt people. That's the major difference. And for the people out there listening to me, understand rhetoric, understand what conflation is. You got to understand when people are when you're doing a comparative analysis of of a particular topic, you got to weigh it. What is what? Okay, one person is saying, "Oh, I don't like Vlad's community because I don't like Vlad's hair and the fact that Vlad's hair look like a set of camel nuts. That's why I don't like Vlad. I don't like Vlad because he's a fake DJ and his hair look like a set of camel nuts." That's one thing. And then you got other people that say, it's not that I dislike Vlad, but Vlad, your uncle and those people associated with them were behind civil rights laws that went in to help his people, but hurt our people. They got protected by the same laws that put us in jail. And your uncle's the one that drafted that. That's a big difference than saying, I don't like you, Vlad, because your hair looks like camel nuts. Okay? So we got to make sure that we understand these differences. And you cannot allow someone to lie. You cannot allow somebody to lie and conflate two things that are not equal. Okay? But let's keep going.
When I was making music, I was oftentimes accused of being racist, right?
Really?
and we can get in.
Let me go back.
I'm anti-Semitic. I'm not a patriot. Yeah, I'm anti-white. I'm not patriotic. But when a white guy does it, he's a rebel. He's a patriot.
Right.
He's a patriot.
Right. Listen to Vlad right here. I want to get past what he said. Listen to how Vlad ends this conversation. I'm gonna slow this down to regular speed so you can hear how Vlad tries to end this topic or does end the topic. Let's go. Listen to this.
Celebrate it, but I get it. I get
it's a double standard. I'm not saying it's fair.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's how most humans take it. It just is what it is. So I think that answers your question in terms of why it's presented that way.
So he said, "Oh," and you saw how he just ended the topic. And let's go on to the next topic. He said it's a double standard and it's not fair. Basically, what he was saying was the double standard is people can criticize their own races but not others. And that's a double standard. No, it's not about it being a double standard. It's about your people, Vlad, doing things in practice. And it's not to say everyone of his people are bad. Again, I don't do blanket statements. Hell, one of my mentors in business is a Jewish guy, a Russian Jew, by the way. Somebody who taught me so much when it comes to what kind of rental property to look to buy. Mathematical equations that I never fucking learned in school on to see if a building is going to be profitable over a 10-year span. He gave me all kinds of formulas and shit to work with, and that I've given to people I trust and that gotten properties and it's always worked. Like these people got like straight up mathematic formulas on how to calculate if a building we calculate the rent roll versus the debts and how to plug in certain numbers to project that building over a 10-year period is profitability, and this motherfucker's been right. Rest in peace, Al. So I'm not here to say that all are bad. No, I'm not. I've had some good game from people with small hats. Appreciate the super chat, famously backer. Much thanks. Much thanks. I appreciate that. But I've gotten good game from these people with small hats. So I'm not about to sit here and act like all of them ain't shit. Because some of the things that I've taught have been things that I've been taught have been things that have helped me in the long run. So I'm not here for all that bullshit. But I am here to call out what is. And it's very clear what Willie D's talking about. And Vlad, he danced his ass around that shit. Vlad, you keep dancing, your hairpiece gonna fall off. All right? All that goddamn dancing. Why does his face look like, if an ostrich had a full-on beard, it would be JD Vlad. I'm gonna call him JD, not DJ. If an ostrich had a beard, boy. But Acacia, sorry, I appreciate the Cash App. Much appreciation on the Cash App. Thank you. So let's transition into how whiteness is and how he basically tried to clout chase this moment into an interview with the great Minister Farrakhan. Let's listen to this.
Good for the Jewish community and the Muslim community right now. But he said, well, no, that's not going to happen. And I said, okay, that's fine. I respect it. And then that got twisted into Vlad will only apologize if he gets an interview with Farrakhan, which honestly was never said. It was never said like that.
What if you had said something?
Basically, he was talking about how they wanted him to interview. He said that he would go ahead and after the whole thing, he would interview Minister Farrakhan, and they're like, no, interview Nuri Muhammad instead. He basically was like, why would I interview second in command? Like, that's some white shit right here. Well, let's go back. I'm gonna play more of it. Let's listen to it.
Again, I lost my train of thought a little bit.
I asked you, would you be willing to sit down with
Right,
Farrakhan?
sorry. Thank you. So when this whole thing happened, the first phone call I got was from the guy I dealt with in the NOI. And the first thing he said was, hey, let's address this misquote. Do an interview with Nuri Muhammad about it. And I said, well, that doesn't make any sense because I wasn't talking about Nuri. I was talking about Farrakhan. So I'm not going to have a conversation with someone who I wasn't talking about the person I was talking about. But if he's open to it, I'm willing to have a conversation with Farrakhan about it on or off camera.
Right there. That's some white shit right there. First off, you're dealing with an organization that Farrakhan is the head of. What in the hell make him think he's entitled to talk to Minister Farrakhan? Minister Farrakhan didn't even do Hidden Colors. Who in the hell are you? See, they're so entitled, they think if they throw a shot at a black man, they can talk to him. They don't, see, black folks, this goes to any athletes out there listening to me, any actors, athletes, anybody that's famous, any of you kids out there that y'all the most popular kid at your school. Look, they see us all as one big nigga. It don't matter if you're the janitor or if you're Louis Farrakhan. They think that they're entitled to your time when they request it. I remember, I know sometimes when I go around, when I would be around my NBA friends back in the day, and I would see, like, you would see, like, kind of the, first off, at All-Star Weekend, it wasn't too many black kids that got to get close to the athletes. Or not just All-Star Weekend, anytime you're around athletes. You generally see, you be at a game in goddamn black-ass Atlanta or New Orleans, and it's still going to be 90%, 95% white kids around. And if it is a black kid, that's probably the son of one of the other athletes or an actor or somebody. Black kids generally don't get too much inside the box. But I remember when I would be there, I would be around some of my friends in the league, and the kids, all the white kids would come. The white kids would literally come with a hat and see an athlete. They won't even know this nigga name. They just see it's a black dude that's 6'7", and be like, sign this. And the parents would be sitting back there, the dad would be sitting back there like, yeah, that's my boy. You ain't teaching little nigga ain't teaching the little bastard no respect. Just let their little kids go on up to these athletes, go on up to Kevin Durant, go on up to LeBron, go on. Say this. Just entitled. No respect. And you see that playing out right here with Vlad. Vlad, you disrespected an icon. And he still feels so emboldened that I don't have to talk to that icon. I don't have to talk to him, to his side guy. I need to talk to him. What did Ice Cube say? Here's what they think about you. I want this in the mind of every black person out there, whether you broke and you think you less than because oh man, who am I? I don't have any money. Oh man, look, you broke, don't have no money. You could be listening to me right now on the bus, wishing you was driving, but you ain't got the bread to drive. These motherfuckers don't see you no different than they see Louis Farrakhan or Michael Jordan. I promise you. So let's go on into the apology. This here is where he just flat out apologizes. And I'm going to let y'all make the call on if you think it's genuine or not.
Guys, is not a weakness, it's an attribute.
Yeah. And let me be clear, I'd like to apologize to Minister Farrakhan for misquoting him back in 2020. Period.
There you go.
No ifs, but, or anything else like that. Point blank, period. This is what I'm doing on your show.
Now, that's honorable.
Thank you.
That's honorable.
And also, let me just say, this was not a decision based on pressure by anybody, by financial duress. It's not like I have to do this in order to turn the company around. The company's been doing fine all these years. It's not because I'm trying to get to a certain guest and by doing this and so forth. No, there's no reason behind this except for it's the right thing to do. And I'm fully aware that a lot of people are going to hear this and say, fuck your apology. It's too late. We're not going to accept it. Whatever. And that's fine because this is not for those people. This is something that I felt I should do. And some people will accept it and some people won't. And I'm fully aware going into that, what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So there you have it. That's his full-on apology. And look, it's not my apology to either accept or reject. He apologized to Minister Farrakhan. And I'm not going to tell you guys whether you should accept or reject it. That's totally up to you. We all have free will. I will say this. I do have respect for the apology itself. Now, whether or not I go back to listening to Vlad, that's a different topic. In a vacuum, I respect the apology because, you know, here's the reason why I respect it. It sets a trend. It sets a precedent. In order to change anything, let's talk social science now, real quick. Everybody, you know, however you feel, let's pull back. Let's get out of our feelings. Let's get out of our feelings. Let's woosah. Let's take this on a societal level. In the social sciences, you need two things to start a movement. You need a leader. You need a second leader. You need a third confirmation. And that's how you draw a crowd. Let me see if I can find a video on YouTube. Yep, okay, this is crazy. I found the same video that taught me this lesson in college. Let's watch this video right here. This whole thing I'm talking about. This is something that we discussed in college right here on the starting of a movement. You need a leader, second leader, and then that's how you draw a crowd. Let's watch this real quick, and we're going to show and see how momentum is gained when it comes to movements and how all movements begin and start. This is the exact same video I remember we used in college.
If you've learned a lot about leadership and making a movement, then let's watch a movement happen start to finish in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore, it's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. So it takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out and you brave ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. The first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is the spark that really makes the fire. Now here's the second follower. This is a turning point. It's proof the first has done well. Now it's not a lone nut and it's not two nuts. 3 is a crowd and a crowd is news. A movement must be public. Make sure outsiders see more than just the leader. Everyone needs to see the followers because new followers emulate followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, then 3 more immediately. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point, and now we have a movement. As more people jump in, it's no longer risky. If they were on the fence before, there's no reason not to join in now. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, and they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. And over the next minute you'll see the rest who prefer to stay part of the crowd, because eventually they'd be ridiculed for not joining. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how a movement is made. So let's recap what we've learned. If you are a version of the shirtless dancing guy, all alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals, making everything clearly about the movement, not you. Be public, be easy to follow. But the biggest lesson here, did you catch it? Leadership is overglorified. Yes, it started with the shirtless guy, and he'll get all the credit, but you saw what really happened. It was the first follower that transformed a lone nut into a leader. There's no movement without the first follower. See, we're told that we all need to be leaders, but that would be really ineffective. The best way to make a movement, if you really care, is to courageously follow and show others how to follow. When you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first person to stand up and join in.
Y'all got the lesson? When you have someone step out and lead and do something that hasn't been done before or isn't common, the way to build the momentum to that is to acknowledge it and encourage the behavior. And here's why. You have others out there who've done similar egregious things. Fat Joe. People like that. When they see someone give a genuine, from their perspective, this isn't about your perspective, this isn't about how you feel. When they see someone give an apology and they see everyone say, you know what? It's this, it's that. What it does is it discourages the second follower. In class, we used to call that shit the second leader or the first follower. You acknowledge. I'm not saying you kiss ass. You also don't do the other things some of you cornfed niggas be doing. Oh man, DJ Vlad cool in the motherfucker, man. We gonna invite him to the barbecue. Hell no. Ain't no goddamn barbecue to be inviting nobody to. We don't go that far either for you coon buck dancing ass niggas. You niggas go too far. Vlad's not invited back to the barbecue. But the behavior of apologizing is recognized and encouraged. Because through recognition and encouragement, that's how you encourage a first follower. And then when the first follower comes along and feels encouraged, then you get a third person. And when you get the fourth, you got some momentum. It doesn't take everybody to create a tipping point. It takes a few people to This is about here social science, not the feeling of some emotional ass nigga. Because one of the issues that we have as a community is our over emotionalism. We tend to get way too emotional about every goddamn thing. Emotional about who we gonna vote for. Emotional about who our favorite basketball player is. Emotional this and niggas end up crying like hoes. We so goddamn emotional. The emotionalism has not gotten us far. Let's pay attention to how far emotionalism has gotten us, black people. Again, emotionalism is also saying, man, DJ Vlad is invited to the cookout and I'm going to watch everything he do. No, I'm still going to watch Art of Dialogue, right? I still support Lord Jamar. And if Lord Jamar decides to forgive him, that's cool. But I'm still going to support Lord Jamar. I'm still going to support Art of Dialogue. I'm still going to support those other channels that are out there doing it because I feel that we have enough in-house for us to be fine. We don't need Vlad. We don't need 22. We don't need Demix. We don't need none of that. But at the same time, while not getting all overly emotional saying, I'm going to be with Vlad, I can still respect his apology. You did? Yeah, Willie D's channel. I love his interview channel. Somebody said DJ Vlad should apologize on the jump. No. I don't. Why should he even apologize? If he didn't mean it, why should he have apologized off the jump? That's nothing, black folks. People like, look, nothing. I don't want no not if it's just if you just hustling. Nah, what good would it have been to him apologize off jump if he was just trying to hustle us? Hell, he could easily still be trying to hustle us. But what I'm not gonna do is there like perfection doesn't exist. That's another thing. We as people, we are looking for perfection. Perfection does not exist. No particular incident or interaction is going to be perfect. We got to be mature enough to understand that as a people. Nothing's going to be perfect. Nothing. All right? Now let's go further into it because there's some other things he says that I want to get to. When he talks about his family and the cultural divide. What did I say on microphone check? What did I say on my own documentary? What's one of my statements I said about hip hop and about Black American music? Whether it be ragtime, jazz, King Oliver Jazz Band, Louis Armstrong, Dizzy Gillespie, Duke Ellington, Stevie Wonder, Patrice Rushen, Aretha Franklin, or whether it be Nas or Jay-Z, black music causes cultural divides in other groups of people. Go to Incense and Ashtrays. If you have not seen my first documentary pilot about the Black American music family tree, I said this. Black American music has been causing cultural divides for well over 100 years. People immigrate to this country, and when those kids come along, those kids don't fuck with whatever culture and tradition they have back at home. Whether you're talking about academics in Jamaica or DJ Vlad or JD Vlad in Russia. It's the same story over and over and over again. These different hip hop reaction channels, they got their own, and I like listening to Screwface Gene. I like listening to Chig Smooth, but they're Nigerian, and you hear them say some things back and forth in their Nigerian language. I don't know which one it is, Igbo, Hausa. I don't fucking know, and I don't care. But you'll see them talking about hip hop. But then they'll go right in to say something back and forth about my Nigerian. They got their own culture. But when you come to America, as much as you may love your culture and put your country's flag in your profile, you come into what the fuck we doing. And this is that communication gap why people will call hip hop a culture separate from Black American culture. Because you got people who don't understand our culture, never tried to learn our culture, but they love the music so goddamn much. They try to create these false lines of division saying that hip hop is its own separate culture. No, the fuck it's not. It's an extension of Black culture that you motherfuckers just happen to like. And I want y'all to hear DJ JD Vlad break this down.
And then eventually moved to California, and I think right around second grade is where I started going to school in California, and then my family settled in San Mateo, and that's when I started like going to elementary school and then onward to high school and so forth.
And what was it like growing up?
So he talks about growing up in San Mateo and all that stuff. So now, let me see, where's this marker at? 45. The 45-minute mark. Listen to this part right here where he talks about the cultural divide and how he got into hip hop.
No, this is not something I wanted to pursue later in life.
Did you get a whipping?
My parents didn't really hit me like that.
You didn't get whippings?
Maybe as a kid, I was like 5 or something, but eventually my parents.
Oh, yeah, something like that. In my house, that would have been a fantastic ass whipping.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that would have been one for the record books.
I mean, I think the problem, and this is why I felt like I wasn't as close with my family, my parents, as much as I wish I was, is that there was just such a huge cultural divide between us. They were Russians coming from Russia. My dad was, I think, 11 years older than my mom. So he was like, I believe, like in his late 30s, maybe coming over. She was like in her late 20s. Imagine being in your 20s or 30s and suddenly being thrown into a whole other country with a whole different language, a whole different culture. Like if we put you in China right now, you'd probably go and try to find some Americans and try to hold on to your own culture, as opposed to really engulfing yourself into Chinese culture. And that's ultimately what happened. I grew up as a child, as a 5-year-old. Although Russian was my first language, I learned English very quickly. I didn't have an accent. Like when you hear me talk, can you hear an accent?
No.
Yeah, see, I never really have an accent. My dad had a very thick accent. My mom had an accent as well. And they really just associated with other Russians. My mom had Russian friends. My dad didn't really have a lot of friends.
Did y'all live in a Russian community?
No. And that was sort of the thing of like, in San Francisco, when we first moved, for like maybe.
So you got to see what he's talking about right there, how, his parents, for the most part, stayed Russian.
Yeah, I don't know, 6.
But you'll see that Vlad goes in and talk about how he gravitated to hip hop. There was a cultural divide. Imagine having a cultural divide between you and your family. And that's why I try to present what I present with as much respect as possible. But when you listen to people like Fat Joe and Busta Rhymes, it's hard to be respectful because you're just so angry at what they said because they said some whole ass shit. But when you remove yourself from the kind of shit that Fat Joe and Busta Rhymes say, I like to approach this topic of culture with respect because that's some real shit. Your mama speak a whole goddamn language, different language than you want to speak. You want to be a part of your current environment. And Americans, people, even the white ones, don't come to America and adapt. They adapt to whiteness up here in their mind. But as far as the fun things to do culturally, the fun stuff, how they live their life, the music they listen to, they 99.9% of the time come to us. And that could be a real cognitive dissonance. It could be a real issue. And that's why I encourage people who are from different cultures to face it. Instead of arguing with black people saying that we're being divisive, no, we're not being divisive. We understand the full-on nuance of this thing. We'll never go around and put a fucking Mount Rushmore up like Hot 97 with goddamn Chris Brown and Michael Jackson and Usher and disrespect the likes of Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, James Brown, and those who came before. Within our culture, we would never do that to our own culture. But you get people like a Hot 97 who ain't black, who come around in our culture and they do disrespectful shit like that. That's why I think it's I encourage people who are from other cultures or bicultural to explore what being bicultural is, biracial. The same way you have biracial, you have biculture. But I can't as a complete Black American who I've now traced both my mom and my dad's side, both my mom's parents' sides to at least the 1600s, and one of my grandparents on my dad's side to at least the early 1700s, and the rest at least into the mid 1800s. And also all four of my grandparents at least in the mid 1800s. I don't have that experience, so I can't speak to speaking one language at home and then going out into the street speaking another. I can't speak to my parents listening to doonch, 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 doonch. A nosotros hemos vimos a la cuatro o nosotros. I didn't grow up with that shit in the house. I grew up with Smokey Robinson in the house. But some of y'all grew up with doonch, doonch, doonch. A nosotros hemos vimos a la cuatro. But your favorite song is Doggy World from Snoop Dogg. I don't know what that's like. I don't know what Goya powder tastes like on my food. Nigga, I only know goddamn grease, nigga, lard, and nigga seasonings. I don't know what the fuck Goya tastes like. So me, I can't be the one out of respect for people who are bicultural. Out of respect for y'all, I can't be the one to talk about that thing. You guys gotta come together and study what it's like to be bicultural. To come from a family that make fresh tortillas. I remember that tripped me out. My first time over the Belizean homie's house. My Belizean homegirl, Sandy and Sandra, these two twins I kick it with. My first year of college, it was me and the twins was hella cool. I was already, man, I'll be with these two. If you would see me with these two twin chicks all the time when I was 18, all the time. And I didn't know that they was Belizean until I went over the house one night. And they mom was making fresh tortillas. And it was rice everywhere and beans and shit. And they started speaking in some goddamn crazy ass accent I never heard before. I'm like, what the fuck? And it was cool because out here in LA, the Belizeans don't act like they better than the black Americans. We all kind of all just get along. Belizeans don't be pulling that bullshit out here. That's why I want to say salute to the Belizeans and from Southern California. Y'all don't pull that bullshit. Y'all keep y'all culture, but y'all just come in and integrate with us, and it's cool. But being bicultural is something I would love to hear more about. And that's why we have this communication gap between Black Americans and non-FBAs when it comes to hip hop. On one hand, you guys are saying, no, hip hop is a shared culture. And what we're saying is y'all don't share your culture with us, so why the fuck should we share it with you? And both sides have a point. If you think and you've been in your whole life, like Vlad was just saying right there, and you come from this other culture that you don't really relate to because you relate to this new thing called hip hop, I can see how you would think that that's your culture. But it's not. It's part of your culture as far as socially, and it's part of your culture as far as your life. But the true essence of hip hop is a completely different culture than yours. That's why I always say that's why people from outside the culture should have a certain level of respect. Because we as Black people, if you notice, when you go into more of what Vlad was saying, he was getting teased by the white kid. He grew up in a white neighborhood, and he was getting teased for being a Russian during the 80s. I can imagine that was tough being a Russian during the 80s. I can imagine around white people, because they real evil. Black people, we talk shit. We'll talk about your shoes. We'll talk about your hair. We'll say your breath stink, but we'll let you live. White people fight each other. Like, them motherfuckers hate each other. And when they get somebody that's not them, it's brutal.
Months, there was a big Russian community around and so forth, especially when I was at school, there's lots of other Russian kids. But where we settled, where my parents bought a home, which was in San Mateo, California, I was like the only Russian kid anywhere. In fact, like in the school, I only had one other friend who was Russian. He was half black, half Russian. He had a black dad and a white and a Russian mom.
Military kid?
No, his mom cheated on his dad at work.
Okay.
and told him that, lied about who his real dad was and said, oh, you must have had a black relative somewhere in your family we didn't know about. So he grew up thinking he was white when he's really black. And, it was a whole clusterfuck that he had to, deal with in therapy later on in life.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just me and him. And it was a lot of fights, man. You got to think that during that time in the 80s, Russia and America were essentially at war. Like there was a real underlying fear of a new.
If you call somebody a commie in the 80s, them was fighting words. I'm sure Vlad got called a commie all the time. Look at the commie! Let's get him! That's probably why he ain't got no hair and had to buy this fake-ass hairpiece. All them white kids in his neighborhood knocked that motherfucker's skull back so much he lost all his fucking hair.
Nuclear war during that time. You remember those times.
Mm-hmm.
There was like TV shows like the day after that showed what would happen if there was a nuclear war. Before that there was the Cuban Missile Crisis, where it was like there was actual nuclear missiles right off the coast to Florida. Like there was times where it was very tense. So I was viewed as very much as an enemy by a lot of kids, just because I was named Vlad and I was Russian. And I just remember getting into a lot of fights during that time. Having to punch people in the face for saying fucked up shit and that type of thing, just because. And I was the only one.
Did he ever?
And that's real, because white society is very, very. Not saying all white people, but as a society, it's a very, very, very violent society. They have a very, very, very. It's very, very violent over there on that side of the field. It really is. And so you see Vlad grew up in that very violent environment. And who accepted him? The black people. When he went in the and go again, watch this whole interview on Willie's channel. But it was the black people that accepted him. And that goes to show you, and this goes to anybody that's pushing back on us claiming our culture. We the ones that accept all you motherfuckers. Anybody from any culture, if they come around black people and just chill, we're going to accept you. That's one of our beauties. That's also one of our flaws, for better or for worse. We accept people. Only thing we ask for is respect when you come into the house. Okay? We got a dope culture that accepts people. And I will tell you, I will guarantee 100% that if you're someone from a different culture, our culture will accept you 10 times before your culture accepts me. We can't bet on it, put money on it, because gambling is illegal. But if I could put money on it, press the number 1 chat room if you feel me. If we were going to go culture for culture, who's going to accept who? Is it going to be ours or yours? Who's more likely to accept who? Your culture accepting me walking through the door, or our culture accepting you? So you shouldn't have an issue with us cleaning house. Because we got to figure out, we done let a lot of people up in this house, and we got to figure out who is who. Black folks, we like Billy Ray Valentine on Trading Places. Who been putting the cools out on my floor? Who been putting they cools out on my floor? Then he go upstairs. Hey, I thought that we had more people down here. Your guests have adjourned upstairs. And they go upstairs. I've been waiting on you, Billy Ray. That's my favorite part when I was a kid. Shit, I'm 7 years old, getting to see a fresh pair of titties. Man, I couldn't wait for that part to come when I was a kid. I'll be sitting like, I hope my mom and my daddy don't throw me out. Man, please don't throw me out. Please don't throw me out the room before the scene. Please don't throw me out the room before the scene. Then she pop out, you 7 years old, you be like, yeah, nigga. But that's where we are. Black people are where Billy Ray Valentine was on Trading Places. Who been putting their cools out on my floor? Your guest seems to be having a good time, sir. Nah, Fuck them. Everybody out. Hell yeah, that was amazing at that time. When I was trading places with them titties pop out, like what? And I used to hope like hell my mom and my dad wouldn't. I was like, I hope they forget the scene. Because as a kid, as a little boy, as a horny ass little boy, you know the scene is coming. Your parents might not. My dad's smoking. My dad already smoking a joint. He ain't thinking about this shit. My mom, so as a kid, I'm hoping like, man, I hope they don't remember the scene is coming because I want to see it. And one time they got me and I kicked me out the room for that scene. And I remember opening the door and peeking through my door like, I want to see some titties. Y'all know I'm telling the truth, chat room. Y'all know I'm telling the truth. You know I'm telling the truth. But that's where we are as a people. We like, hey man, we got to clean up who's in this house. Yeah, lady, hope they don't cover your eyes. You be like, okay. Hell yeah, I still watch Trading Places to this day. But with that being said, hey, Friday, May 2nd and Saturday, May 3rd, there's a free event here in Compton, California. Rizza had some of the scientists that were giving us all the warnings behind the back during the Wumpty Wamp shutdown, lockdown days. He has them here in person answering your questions about how to, if you took the shot, how to cleanse yourself from it, what's next. Make sure you're at that event. And also solutions for reproductive health on Saturday, May 3rd. And I will be cracking some jokes. It's going to be a little bit of comedy relief in there. And I will be the one on stage cracking them jokes. So y'all want to be a part of that. May 3rd, Saturday, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. in Compton. And then on May 2nd in Compton at the Compton Airport. Also go to intellectualpower.net. Get yours, product code D Brown for 10% off. Peace Pads is also all those links are in the description. Mods are also hitting everything up too. All right. So, but that's what's going on with this. So far, that's why I want to show like black people that, you know, we do have our own unique culture, and it's time that people from other cultures have their ethnogenesis and their discussions on which direction they're going to go in America. Because all of this, I'm this particular race when we're great, but I want to still be 100% hip hop and then allow people like Fat Joe to say hip hop is 5150. I said 5150. Salute to 5150. It's 50-50 and all this shit. And you see what's going on. See, Vlad see what's happening. Fat Joe didn't apologize. Math Hoffa didn't apologize. And where's Math Hoffa's studio? That shit's dead like Jimmy Hoffa. Now, his show may come back one day, but I don't see it as no coincidence. Right after Jimmy Hoffa, whatever his name is, decided he wasn't going to apologize to black Americans, he loses his studio. Idiot. Should have just apologized, dickhead. Ha ha. But there's one more part I want to get to, and then I'll open it up. There's one more part I want to get to. And that's this right here. The culture vulture question. This was a great question by Willie D. Let's listen to this culture vulture question and let's get my response to that.
Double XL, like meeting other DJs that were like, oh, yo, I love that mixtape. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, oh, okay, now I'm actually part of hip hop doing this. Not doing beats, but doing mixtapes. I'm actually part of it. And that was like the greatest feeling ever at the time.
So putting together
to go from just being a fan of hip hop to being part of the creative process of it all.
And the creative
That
process.
was like the greatest feeling ever.
But now it's so being a mixtape person made him feel like he's part of the culture. Now let's listen to Willie D ask the real question. Let's listen to this.
How do you feel when people call you a culture vulture?
The same as someone calling me a honky or a redneck or a cracker. It's just another version of that.
Yeah. I asked that question obviously because I see it a lot. I'm a subscriber to your channel. I never stop. I never cancel. I don't know why. I guess if I would have really been thinking about it, I would have canceled my subscription to your channel. But I never cancel. I don't cancel subscriptions, man. I just. But yeah. I asked that question because I've seen that in the comments a lot.
Yeah, all the time. I get called a culture vulture 1,000 times a day.
Yeah. What's the difference between you and somebody who you think or you consider a real culture vulture?
I think that's a real term. Because when you look at other prominent people who are called culture vultures, they really have an immense level of contribution. Leo Cohen, you can't downplay.
So he says he's not a culture vulture. He feels like he's been a honky. He feels like being called a honky when he calls that. Now, this is the part I really want to get to. I'm going to rewind it a little bit. Listen to what he says right here. And we're going to break this shit all the way down, black people. Hold your horses right now. Hold your horses and listen to this horse shit he's about to spew.
The difference between you and somebody who you think or you consider a real culture vulture?
I think that's a real term. Because when you look at other prominent people who are called culture vultures, they really have an immense level of contribution. Leo Cohen, you can't downplay what he's done in hip hop.
What?
In fact, right now, and I interviewed him about this, I asked him the same question. I essentially asked him if he was the most powerful person on earth when it comes to music, because he's the head of YouTube Music Global, not just America. YouTube Music Global, he's the head of. Me and him just texted the other day. I mean, I respect what he did. Vlad TV used to be located in SRC Records, which is headed by Steve Rifkin, another person who's constantly being called a culture vulture. This is the guy that introduced the world to Wu-Tang, Big Pun, Exhibit, 3-6 Mafia, Akon, Melanie Fiona, Asher Roth.
But he got paid to do that, though. You know what I'm saying? Somebody could easily argue that, he wouldn't have done it. He didn't do it out the goodness of his heart. He did it because he was getting paid,
What other music executive hasn't gotten paid?
This
was his job.
We're talking about people that
Lil J got paid.
But we're talking about people that's being accused of being a culture vulture, though.
Well, of course you're going to get paid for putting out products that millions of people are.
So let's break down the first part of this, because he says more that I want to break down. But let's break down this first part of this. He says he's not a culture vulture because he wouldn't contribute. He says Leo Cohen is not a culture vulture because of what he contributes. Let's make it very clear on what a culture vulture is. First off, Leo Cohen is hired to do a job. And he gets hired to do a job that black people can do ourselves. But they want to allow, white-owned record labels want to allow a black man in his position to control the money like that. He's a vulture because what he does is, like he said on the Breakfast Club, he allows black degeneracy to be pushed. See, what happened was when they got into the record label, into hip hop, they changed what hip hop was talking about. They changed the message. Leo Cohen is a person, according to Professor Griff, that got between Chuck D and Public Enemy. According to Professor Griff, he was the one that created the rift that broke apart a black band group that gave a message that we needed to hear. That since that group broke apart, we haven't gotten a message like that from them since. According to Dame Dash, Leo Cohen is the one that got between Jay-Z and everyone else at Rockefeller. So I'm just only going to go 2 instances that we know according to the people who were affected, not by DeJuan Brown's judgment. Professor Griff talked about Leo Cohen being the person that created the rift. Dame Dash talked about Leo Cohen being the person that created the rift. How can I call you contributing to my genre when you're the one that comes between black people and you play one black man against another? See, you're a vulture. You don't see this is that white entitlement again, thinking that they're giving you opportunities. No, black people, we've done well on our own. Read books by like Music Hitmen. Read this book by Frederick Denon, Hitmen. I think this book is out of print, but you can still find it. If you can find it, make sure you get a copy. It might be out of print. And it talks about how things happen in the music industry for chess maneuvers to be made for even white-owned record labels who weren't part of the bullshit, who weren't part of the game, got taken over. And I remind you, I call Dr. Logan Westbrooks back. Hopefully I'll be interviewing Dr. Westbrooks pretty soon. He's the person that wrote the book, the Harvard Report, talking about how there was a study done in the early 70s on how these white-owned companies can profit and at the same time dismantle black music. If you go back to the early, see, Vlad's talking like Leo Cohen did something for us. No, Leo Cohen is a foot soldier for even higher small hat money. He's not even the top guy. He kind of got elevated to that recently. But when he first came in the 80s, he wasn't the top guy. He was the foot soldier for the top guy to make sure you niggas stayed in check. Because if you go back to the music environment of black music in the 80s, let's break down, and you can find more of this on my interview with Alonzo. If you go back to the 60s and the 70s, you had black-owned VJ Records. You had record labels like Brunswick Records, the whole record row in Chicago. Those record labels, if they were not owned by black people, they were owned by whites and not by whites that stepped back and allowed the black folks to run the shit. And we were doing perfectly fine by ourselves. Motown Records. The Isley Brothers had their own label. Curtis Mayfield. You go down the line. We were owning and running our own shit because we James Brown. We could have our own label, and then for distribution, what you would do is you created relationships with one stops in different towns. One Stop is a local promoter, and that local promoter had relationships at the record companies and the radio stations in that city. You go to that One Stop, you pay for promotion, you pay for records to be printed, and you break a record in Memphis. This is what Al Bell was doing with Chess Records. If you go back and watch that that Stax, go back and watch that Stax record documentary. Go look at Al Bell. Al Bell created relationships with One Stops in DC, Philadelphia, New York, LA, Denver, Dallas, Houston, anywhere else a black listener was. And we were able to go to these One Stops and promote things ourselves. And coincidentally, that was the last time black music was pure. The last time you had pure, uncut, unadulterated black music was the mid-70s. We were totally fine. It was from the mid-70s on that they started buying our record labels up one by one. And then hip-hop broke loose in the 80s. And then we had pure hip-hop from Rappers Delight till about 93. 93, 94 was the last time we had pure hip-hop. What happened? Leo Cohen and people like him coming in, giving opportunities to degenerate niggas. These Jimmy Iovine's giving opportunities for degenerates like 50 Cent and taking opportunities away from X-Clan, taking opportunities away from Digital Underground, taking opportunities away from Arrested Development and the type of hip-hop that we chose. When you bring in Leo Cohen and these guys, it goes from the wide range of beautiful people. When it was us, we had we anointed Queen Latifah, MC Lyte, and the Brat. They anointed Nicki Minaj and Cardi B. You see how that works? You see how that works? So he's talking, and that's exactly why those people are vultures. If you go to Leo Cohen's Breakfast Club interview, Leo Cohen talks about how he wouldn't have no music like that playing about his community, but he needs to eat. So that's where the vulture thing comes from. You come over here, you capitalize on something we built. Black people, remember this. We were running our record industry fine. We had no issues. But it goes back to the story I talked about last night on my live. Big bank take little bank. That's the story of life. Big bank take little bank. And while we're trudging along, big bank always wins. Even when it comes to white folks. That's how, record labels like, I'm gonna give you a white example. Casablanca Records. I'm drawing a blank to their CEO's name, but he died in the early 80s under mysterious circumstances. But he's somebody who CBS and the big boys were going after. I read that part in this book. CBS and all them, they were going after Casablanca. Because Casablanca, they was releasing Parliament Funkadelic. On the funk side, they was releasing the most extreme funk and disco. It was Casablanca, a white-owned record label that was allowing the black people to run wild. Casablanca wasn't supposed to have Donna Summer go do what she... Donna Summer wasn't supposed to happen because the powers that be didn't choose Donna Summer. A white-owned label that wasn't playing the game did. So you had black people running their own shit, and you had white people that didn't give a fuck about the race play. They were all successful until CBS, until Universal, Sony, these big, huge money entities came and played big bank, take little bank, squeezed the means of distribution, bought up all the distribution. Now as you get through the 80s, no more one-stops. You buy up all the one-stop chains for local promotion, and then after you buy up all the one-stop promotion chains, then you buy up all the radio stations. 1996 Telecommunications Act. And whatever few independent black-owned radio stuff was around or white-owned that wasn't playing the game, they all got squeezed, and then bought out. And then put into the hands of someone like a Leo Cohen. So no, he didn't give a shit. And with that being said, happy anniversary to the Let's Take It to the Stage album with Parliament Funkadelic. This was one of the first diss songs ever recorded. Funk, James, this is George Clinton rapping over a vamp break beat, calling out other bands, calling out Smoothest and Shaka Khan, Earth, Hot Air, and No Fire.
Oh, how?
Listen to this. You want to talk about one of the early days of rhyming? Before, this is black culture right here for you people who are new to our culture. Say happy 50th anniversary to this album by Parliament by Funkadelic.
Everybody funkin' and don't know how. They should have seen the bull when he funked the cow. He funked it so hard they saw some smoke.
Man, that's my shit.
Grandfather.
That's what they was calling James Brown the godmother, the grandfather. They called out Kool in the Gang. They dissed Rufus and Shaka Khan. They dissed Earth and Fire. Happy 50th anniversary to the Let's Take It to the Stage album by Funkadelic. Also, one of my other favorite songs, No Head, No Backstage Pass. What y'all know about this?
Tell them.
What y'all know about this?
pass.
No head, no backstage pass.
No head, no backstage pass. No head, no backstage.
No head, no backstage pass. That's what we had when we owned our record. When we was distributing our own music, Funkadelic could play heavy metal and they could play funk. Shit, goddamn, get off your ass and jam. Happy 50th anniversary to that album by Funkadelic. Which basically brings us to what we're talking about today, DJ Vlad. Black people, totally fine without Lee or Cohen. Totally fine without y'all in our shit. As a matter of fact, our music was much better off. It was more diverse. And it spoke to us as a people. So for Vlad to go around patting himself on the back because some culture vulture came in and fucked up our sound, I got an issue with it. I got a major issue with it.
Enamored by. But you also got to see, like, people like to say he got paid off all these artists and, you know, he took advantage of them and put them in bad deals and he made most of the money, blah, 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 blah. Most of these people on this that were on Loud Records.
Well, no, I don't need to go any further. I don't want to hear him explain anymore. You guys get the gist of what's going on. So, that's what's going on, y'all. That's what's going on. DJ or JD Vlad is a culture vulture. Make sure y'all hit the like button. Make sure y'all hit the like button and share. Also go to doesnt.com. Get your Black American music family tree at doesnt.com. Get your Black American music family tree, all the merch. Understand that this is all our culture, and we must have respect and pride for our culture. But you see why these people from other cultures like Vlad have such an issue. You see why. They have their own cultural differences, their own cultural rifts in their families, in their community, which makes them run to our community and our families. You dig what I'm saying? It makes them run to our community and our families and our music. They love it. But at some point, they go back to the cultural norms of their culture as they get older. And the cultural norms of most cultures, especially those that move to America, is anti-Black. Because the way to prove that you're American is to show that you're anti-Black. And they generally fall back into that. That's why we as a people got to make sure that we draw our lines and we keep our lines up. Not because we hate y'all. Because we know 8 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, when y'all get into y'all 30s and 40s, and really when y'all get into y'all 50s, and party time is over, you're going to go back to the cultural norms of your first culture. The culture of your home. the shit your mom and dad said about not trusting them black people over there. Don't hang around those Morenos. That's just what happens. And for us to sit around and act like it doesn't and to play naive, that'll do nothing but harm to all of us. We cannot live life naively. We gotta be very aware of the issues, because the only way the issues cannot affect you is if you're aware they exist. You dig? Carl Langley, thank you for the super chat. You folks from Louisiana just came down, made some jump live from scratch. No, it was so, yeah. You said you couldn't imagine, Joe Love. No disrespect to African folks, though. Yeah, man, your family from the South, when they come up and bring some shit, man, it'd be a whole nother level. A whole nother level. But don't sleep. All my family from the South, when they come to LA and taste my barbecue, they be like, God damn! I didn't know y'all was doing it like that in LA. I'm like, well, the rest of LA may not be doing it like that. But I am. I got them motherfucking skills on them grills. Yeah, but appreciate that, G Mars. Join the Patreon, because on Patreon, we're about to start a new thing this week on Patreon. How to listen to jazz. And how to use jazz to meditate and get your mind right when you wake up and before you go to bed. So this week, expect a few different, and they're going to be short, but we're going to do some sound meditation, some sound baths to jazz. And we're going to breathe, and we're going, because the reason why a lot of us have issues with jazz is because if you listen to jazz with a hip hop ear, you're going to miss it. If you listen to jazz with an R&B ear, you're going to miss it. You have to listen to jazz with a jazz spirit. You listen to jazz from your spirit, from your soul. And that's where the benefits of Black American, what we call jazz, basically Black American classical music. Black American classical. Black American classical, when you listen to it the proper way, if you listen to it in the morning before you get your day started, you're going to, it's going to set your day right. You listen to about 10 to 15 minutes up before you go to bed, you're going to have some sweet dreams. So for those of you on Patreon, we're going to be doing some brief listening parties, and I'm really going to break down the science on how to listen to this music and get it in your spirit. And we're going to be playing music that's based on the playlists that I created that are exclusively for Patreon. So we got Patreon exclusive playlists, and the music I'll be playing in our meditations, in our sound baths, are going to be music that is in already active for your Patreon membership, all right? So if you're on Patreon, look out for that. All right? Well, thank y'all again for listening. I still haven't worked out my phone issues. It went from Skype to Teams, but I don't know how to work this shit through Teams yet. And yeah. So I got phone issues to work out. So no phone. My bad, y'all. I should have fixed it, but when I'm done talking to y'all, I don't be thinking about y'all. I'll be done talking, and I'll be off to the next thing that I do. I don't be thinking about this shit. My bad. I should have thought about it, and I should have had this shit fixed before today's show, but I don't. But I'll figure it out. All right? Thank y'all again for listening. And to remember, there are no perfect messengers. Only perfect messages for those willing to pick up the game. All right? Y'all have a good one.